So I try not to obsess too much about the tires, but I just want to make sure we don't get a flat tire on our trip, and we haven't gotten one since that initial trip that we took. The very first trip that we took.
Yeah.
All because of the extenders and the combination of that and the TPMS. Leisure Travel Vans provides extenders on the rear dualies, which at first seemed like a really great idea because it's a nice way to be able to check the pressure on that inner dually. That's a difficult thing to do. I discovered along the way that it's not always the best option to have that. It does increase your odds of having some sort of a failure. Again, I'm not a tire expert here, it's just from my personal experience, but having that extra length and the constant centrifugal forces does add a lot of stress to that stem, and that's a potential source of a failure. And it was in our case. When we first got our leisure travel van, we have a 2016 Unity corner bed, and the first trip that we took, literally the first trip, we ended up with two inner dually flat tires, and the problem was because of me putting TPMS, the tire pressure gauges, on the extenders. Put it on all the tires actually, which I thought was a good safety mechanism to try to avoid this problem. But what I realized was when I put those TPMS units on the extenders, it just adds that additional weight, and that's where the point of failure ended up being. We were able to just pump them up or have them pumped up, and we were able to make it home without any trouble. We did have the extenders removed and put in short steel stems on all the wheels, and it was something that was recommended to me, and that was something that I felt comfortable with. Just having a short steel stem on there is the most stable, in my opinion, the most stable way of traveling. So a lot of people talk about using the Borg stems, which apparently are your only true stable way of having stems that give you that added advantage of being able to get access to the stem for measuring pressure. If you do a search online, Sprinter Source Forum, LTV Facebook group, search for extenders and TPMS, and you'll find a very large number of people have had difficulties, problems with their extenders and the TPMS, causing a tire failure, flats, and other issues. The Borg stems may prevent that, although some people relay stories that they've also had issues with their Borg stems as well. One thing I've discovered is that when you take your vehicle into your mechanic, even Mercedes-Benz dealers do this, they always seem to get the tire pressure wrong. I specifically request for a certain pressure based on the manufacturer's recommendations, which is located on the driver's side door. And if you look, I don't know if you can see it on the video, both front and back cold pressure should be 61 pounds. And I always check it after you get an oil change if they re-air your tires. Also with these new tires, they were all aired to 70 pounds, which made for a really rough drive home from the service on that day, but I lowered it all to the proper pressure. We're at Temperance River State Park right now, and it's always one of those things that we're always watching out for, checking tire pressure. I actually just upgraded the Continental tires that came with the camper, 2016 model. The tires were manufactured probably a year or two before that, so they were getting pretty up there. So we had a good 8 or 9 years. They actually had good tread on them still, but I think just out of comfort, we managed to upgrade to the Michelin tires this time, and they ride really nice, feel quiet, and very much in control. And now I'm able to check the tire pressure much easier with the new tool that I bought. So the Concern has always been checking the pressure on the dually. It's almost impossible to get the cap off and on without really spending an enormous amount of time. So with my new tool, I'm able to get the cap off and I can regularly check the tire pressure. So that kind of eliminates the need for the TPMS. I feel more comfortable about not having TPMS and just watching things closely.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that, and I wish there was a better way to incorporate the TPMS into the tire itself that would solve the problem. So that's what I feel comfortable with doing, just to make sure that we're keeping our tires safe on the road.